Shalom. First thing and foremost, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. News in the gospel, bro, lifting up the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another lesson through the Spirit. I came across this post yesterday, actually. It says here, OnlyFans banned in China. And it says, yes, OnlyFans is officially banned in China. China has enacted a nationwide ban on the platform, citing concerns about morality and social stability, and characterizing it as an example of Western values. Western values. That's sad. But Western values that conflict with China's cultural standards. It says this move is part of a broader effort to control internet content and limit foreign influences. And you can't blame China. You know what? Because in actuality, that wine, that venom, that madness that America pushes around the world is becoming offensive to these other nations. Because see, what happens is, you got women like from India. They come from like parts of India, they come from Saudi Arabia, the different Arab countries and so forth, and African countries, and they'll come to America and they will have this proud, uppity mentality, and then the women oftentimes become whores, and that usually be the result of it. So that's been a cultural cry-out for some time, because, who wants to see their society in urban decay because of the influence that the West have? And that's why the scriptures say that the nations were bad because they drunk of the wine of the fornication. And this is part of the fornication because, Chinese women come from, in China, coming from a two-parent household, putting their resources together. The women are modest. They don't buck up against the men. Even within the families, you see that the women are walking behind the men, But yet they come to America, 4-year college degree, and before you know it, she's on OnlyFans and she's twerking, and she got a ton of Edomite friends and Jake friends, and they turned her into a total demon. And this is a constant norm. Okay, this is why a lot of times, man, when a lot of those countries and like the Arab nations and their daughters come over, a lot of times what happens is that they will actually ban their daughters from coming back to the homeland, because they're like, we're not dealing with the whoredom, so that a lot of times they were just like, stay in America, don't come back, find your own job, do what you do, we disown your ass. Because they'll come from over there and they'll take off the hijabs and, they'll take off the modest apparel, and before you know it, the bitch is tricking off, man, and that's an offense to those people, and you can't blame them, all right, because the West, it promotes whoredom, it promotes adultery, it promotes wickedness, decay, and this is why, through the Spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, man, this is why, everybody looks down on the West, and this is why this place is getting ready to be destroyed, to say the least. So it says here, here's a more detailed breakdown. It says the Chinese government has been increasingly tightening its grip on online content. Yeah, because they don't want their daughters growing up to be hoes. Here this chick is 18 years old. She graduates high school, and instead of finding a husband and getting married or going to, which college breeds whoredom anyway, but instead of, doing something productive with her life, she wants to get on OnlyFans. Okay, because the average chick on OnlyFans is between the ages of 18 and maybe, of course you got older chicks on there, but they start as young as 18 years old. Okay, dropping out of school. I want to be an OnlyFans model because they can make a quick buck with it. And a lot of these OnlyFans models, a lot of times, it's really prostitution. They're prostitutes. They selling their bodies, man. I remember it was a couple of months ago, me and the brothers, we went to a spot, man, and this Edomite chick came up to me, and she was talking to me, so I'm like, man, she wasn't even all that attractive anyway, but I'm like, the hell you want? She said, well, we was talking shit, and she's like, well, the OnlyFans ain't gonna pay all the bills. I'm like, well, it's not like a personal problem to me, but basically, just this trash bin snackatude Edomite, which she had a decent body on her, but you could tell she probably had a tough lifestyle, drugs, dealing with a bunch of trailer trash Edomites, and she was just through. But she had the audacity to come up to me, and she was talking about OnlyFans and shit. And I'm like, well, that's a personal problem. That's a personal problem. Okay, I'm not finna expend my resources on you, especially when you look like this. Like, I'm cool. But this is it. This is the result of it. You know, they go on there, they make money, and you got the simps that buy into it. And this is the result of it. You know, showing their naked bodies, feet pics, all types of shit. And this is the norm here in the West. And this is why the women are all promiscuous. And the crazy part about it is that they have a very demeaning attitude towards men. And yet this is the social norm. Okay? That's what my man Paul Pierce say, get you a woman overseas. Because I mean, look at this, right? I mean, this is a good looking woman. She got cakes for days, but just the spirit and the nastiness behind it, like you don't want to take something like this home, you know. This is recreational purposes only, but you got men that'll wife that up, you know. It says made $43 million, still maintain religious whatever. And when women see this, that they can make a quick buck, which a lot of these numbers are fabricated because a lot of these women ain't eating like that. This is why they're resorting to these platforms, because, you know, now they're getting ready to start selling it for cheap. But when they realize they can make a quick dollar out this shit, these women, man, this is what they run to. They say, you know what, why do a 9 to 5 when I can just go online and show my body and charge these simps $500 a DM, and, you know, that's what it is. And this is how they get their clout. It's pretty sad, you know, but America's called the Great Whore for a reason. All right, but anyway, it says here, it says hosting adult content to uphold what it calls core social values. OnlyFans, known for its sexual explicit content, has been deemed incompatible with these values. That's right. It says the ban effectively blocks OnlyFans across China, preventing users from accessing the platform without using circumvention tools like VPNs. And it says the ban is part of a wider pattern of China restricting access to foreign websites and platforms it deems harmful or inconsistent with its cultural and political values. And it says, while some of the reports suggest a brief period of accessibility for OnlyFans in late 2024, the latest reports confirm a complete ban and stricter enforcement. And you know what? Eventually, all these platforms were shut down. You know, they all were shut down eventually. And once this shit goes out the window, all these boss women, these proud, uppity ass women, hey, they gonna come off that shit for the cheap price, because it's only worth, you know what I mean, it ain't even worth nothing at the end of the day. Okay, if you slept with more than one man, and, you know, shit, only having 5 bodies in this society is still a come up compared to the average woman that slept with 60, 70 dudes. But a chick that slept with 60, 70 dudes is trying to charge top tier for a box. You finna be coming off that shit for a piece of bread in a minute. Okay, you finna be coming off that box for a place to stay, for a ride to the grocery store in a minute, because you ain't really worth anything. You know, like Anton Daniels, he had a podcast the other day, and I guess it was a story about this lady needed to stay with her male friend, and he like, you could stay with me in exchange for some, you know, for some sex. And she started bugging out. But wait a minute, man, how many men you done sleep with, but you want to act like a demon to me? Like, wait, man, make that make sense. All right, so beggars can't be choosers, man. And you women, you getting ready to drop the going rate on that package between your legs, because it ain't worth nothing anyway, you know. But anyway, a couple of precepts here. Isaiah 1, and I'm gonna start at verses 6. It says, from the soul, even though this is talking about Israel, this goes into the mindset of the people. It says, from the sole of the foot even to the head, there's no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up nor mollified with ointment, right? Because our people, man, they're in a total broken mentality. You know, this society has totally damaged and poisoned the values of the Israelite man and woman. Okay, this is why 90% of our women are sluts, man. They're whores. You know, and they don't have no shame in their game. They straight up, I mean, they show it every day with their body, with their pics. You know, like the chick that drowned on that yacht in Chicago, hey, she was a complete whore, man. You know, because they mentioned that she traveled a lot because she had her own beauty salon. But what the hell you think she was traveling and doing? Okay, she was traveling because she was, you know, she was engaging in sexual activities, man, with foreign men. And don't think that's the truth. Okay, these women, man, they out here like that. Don't let them fool you. But it says, your country is desolate and your cities are burned with fire, and strangers devoured it in your presence, and it is desolate as overthrown by strangers. But in the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in the vineyard, and as lodged in a garden of cucumbers as a besieged city. Yeah, because our women is basically the spoils of war. So they say if you want to know the state of a nation, just look at the women, and the women are totally through. They're slutted out. Okay, they encourage being a whore in this society, because they encourage you to deal with a man with money. Don't marry him unless he's rich, and once you land the bag, then divorce him and take him for everything you got. Take the kids, put them on child support, and go out there and play the field. Okay, like you got these stupid career women that graduate from college, they whole 20s, they be hoes and sluts, and by the time they turn 34, 35, they maybe want to have a kid or two when their bodies are totally destroyed, and then they want to settle down with a man after they didn't play the harlot for the entire youth of their days, man. And that's the common thing in America. Well, I don't need to get my career first. Nah, you just want to have fun. Like chick at work, she straight up told me, she was like, look, she said, look, yeah, I'm in my 20s, I'm young. She said, I ain't ready to settle down yet. We were just having an open discussion among the people we work with. And she's like, I ain't ready to settle down yet. I may want to have some kids one day. But right now, I'm young, I want to have fun. And you know what that means, And she's a heavy set Iscarite woman, you know what I'm saying? So she goes out of town a lot. So in order for her to get the attention that she garners, she's definitely busting it wide open, all right? And I know that for a fact because, she went to college and got a degree. She got a so-called high position, and, she's a whore. She hangs with Edomite women, and, they get down, And then again, she probably ain't getting it like that, so who knows? But regardless of it, that's the mentality of the black woman, Let's go here. Let's go to the book of Sirach 25, because the scriptures go into a whore as a deep ditch. But let's go here. This is the book of Sirach 25, and I'm going to start at verses... Yep, let's go to the book of 24. It says, of the women came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Yeah. Okay, these women have been totally liberated because it tells us where there's no protection, a hedge is spoiled. It says where there's no hedge, the possession is spoiled, and the woman is the possession. And she's spoiled because, the men of this nation, they've been pretty much put into a box to not step up and rule with the iron fist to put the women in order. So this is why, women have rights because, the men, they've been totally castrated. Okay, you can't tell a woman what to do with her body, and you damn sure you can't put her in order in this kingdom because they will call you a bigot, they will call you abusive, and the whole fucking society be gunning for you. Okay, get hit with a domestic violence charge and you were in front of a group of simps. Them simps will try to beat you up to defend this woman's honor when she was the one that was in the wrong in the first place. Okay, this is the kingdom, this is the world we live in. But it says here, give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to guide abroad. Okay, because when you allow the woman to guide abroad, this is what happens. Wickedness follows. Sirach 26, and I'm gonna start at verses. Sirach 26, and I'm gonna start at verses 8. It says, a drunken woman and a guide abroad cause a great anger, and she would not cover her own shame. Right? And when you look at the women of this world, they're totally out of order. Okay, like I said, they come from different countries, different cultures, with their modesty, and give them 6 months to a year, they get a whiff of the American society, a whiff of the American diet, see a couple of YN jakes over here, niggas acting stupid, and, go out to a couple of clubs, and before you know it, she's immersed in the Babylon juice, man. And she don't want nothing more than. And it says, the whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and her eyelids, all that eyeshadow, that makeup. You see? Damn, I closed it out. But it says here, if thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. And that's the point. They have too much liberty. You see, like the chick that got beat down in Russia, she was talking about, y'all could walk the streets any time of the day and not be harmed. So you know what that meant? Meaning that she can be out all hours of the night doing what she want to do without any repercussions. And she fucked around and found out that clearly wasn't the case. And it says here, watch over an impotent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against thee. It says she will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he had found the fountain and drink of every water near her. And it says, and by every hedge will she sit down and open her quiver against every arrow. Meaning that she's going to have sex with a bunch of dudes, because for the simple fact, you know, she has nobody to put her ass in order. Okay, the fathers are not there to put her in order. And if the father was trying to put her in order, the system comes up against him, therefore pushes him out the picture. And now she's result to doing what he feared the most, being a whore. Okay, that's every man's fear that has a daughter if his daughter turned out being a whore. And 9 times out of 10, that'd be the case because the mother is already engaged in harlotry. But anyway, Sirach 42, and I'm going to start at verses 8. It says, be not ashamed to inform the unwise and the foolish. Damn, somebody shot at me. It says, be not ashamed to inform the unwise and the foolish in the extreme age that contend with those that are young. It says, thus should thou be truly learned and approve of all men living. Okay, so, you're supposed to bring these things out, even though, they may negate our knowledge and say, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all just saying that because y'all mad. But this is a proven fact, man, But it says here, the father waketh for the daughter when no man knoweth, and the care for her taketh away sleep. I've heard those stories, and they were like, you have a daughter, you're going to be on the porch with a shotgun waiting. Because you know how these niggas are, man. You know that these jakes out here, they in a whoremongering business, man. They use the women up and pass them around and sleep with the same fucking woman. That's how it be. Jake do that. Jake is wicked like that. They'll pass each other's women around and they'll deal with each other's woman. You see? And she becomes a whore, and before you know it, she's destroyed. And it's a play cycle repeat. But it says, take it away sleep. It says, when she is young, lest she pass away the flower of her age, being married, lest she should be hated. But in her virginity, lest she should be defiled and gotten with child in her father's house. And having a husband, lest she should misbehave herself. And when she is married, lest she should be barren. But keep a sure watch over a shameless daughter, lest she make thee a laughing stock to thy enemies. And this is why nobody respects the Israelite man, because when you see these daughters or these girls out here, guess what? They all got fathers. Whether they know them or don't know them, they in a picture or not. All these girls, and they all have fathers, man. And this is why nobody respect our nation, because we've been hijacked. Like I mentioned, you got actual men that want to be in their child's lives, but they can't tolerate the disrespect of the mother. She puts the demon on the daughter, and it just pushes the father away. And from what I know, a real man ain't gonna stick around and deal with this shit. Like, you know what? Fuck y'all. Y'all figure this shit out. I'll make another one. And unfortunate as that is, it happens more often than not. And certain men willing to pay the price for that. But it says, a laughing stock to thy enemies, and a byword in the city, and a reproach among the people, and make thee ashamed before the multitude. All right. It says, behold not everybody's beauty, and sit not in the midst of women. Yeah. You don't want to be just sitting in the midst of these women, especially if they got men, because nothing could come of that. Just a bunch of confusion and arguing and just a bunch of emotional jargon that profits nothing. But it says, from garments cometh the moth, and from women wickedness. Okay. But better is the churliness of a man, which churliness goes into like a rugged, strict, austere, mean, undesirable of a man than a courteous woman. But a woman, I say, which bringeth shame and reproach. And these women are very shameless here. They don't have a respect for authority. They don't have respect for a damn thing, If it ain't benefiting their benefactor, then they don't give a shit. All right. So anyway, let me not put that, because they may try to take it down. But anyway, one more precept. Because China, like, you know what? We ain't with the folly. We cool. (18:3) Revelation, it says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And that's part of it, the whoredom. It says, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxing rich through the abundance of our delicacies, man. But it's also a scripture, and Jeremiah said that the nations are waxing mad because, this nation has totally destroyed the welfare of other nations, because like I said, when you get in bed with America, you got to give women rights. Okay, you got to totally dissenter the men, and you got to push women to the forefront if you want to, get that funding from Esau, you know. But anyway, I'm gonna end it. All praises and glory and honor is due to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Lord's will, you will edify. Until the next lesson, Shalom.